Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like something was off? Not something that you would say out loud, and maybe not even something you can put into words or verbalize. Just this quiet feeling that follows you, that says that something isn't right. On paper, you're doing everything right. Working, providing, showing up, carrying weight most men wouldn't even touch. But even with all that, something still doesn't sit right in your spirit. You're doing everything right, but it still feels wrong. Like you built a life, but you're not really in it. So people start saying you're too distant, you're too angry, too disconnected. And after a while, you stop questioning what you were taught and you start questioning yourself. So instead of fixing the broken system, you start fixing yourself. But what if that's not the truth? What if you're not broken? What if you're just unfinished? I'll say that again. You're not broken. You're unfinished. And if that's true, then everything that you've been told about being a man, about success, about providing, about why you feel the way you feel, might be incomplete at best and a lie at worst. Stay with me, because by the end of this episode, I'm going to show you why so many men feel lost, where that feeling actually comes from, and what it means to become whole. Because once you see it, you won't look at yourself the same anymore. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. I didn't grow up with my real father. I actually didn't meet him until I was 23. So everything that I thought about a man was something that I had to piece together on my own. And the man who was in my house, the one who married my mother, he didn't really feel like a father. Some men don't feel like fathers, they feel like tension. Like walking on eggshells because you never really knew what version of him you were going to get that day. Some days it was yelling, some days it was silence, some days it was anger that didn't match the situation. And you learn real fast how to shrink yourself just to keep the peace. I didn't learn how to express myself in those younger years. I learned how to manage myself around someone else's emotions. No guidance, no presence, no blueprint. Some homes are never quiet. They're never guided either. It's always noise, but never direction. That was my home. And I remember watching my mom stay through all of it, trying to hold all of it together, trying to keep the family intact, until one day she couldn't anymore. And when she finally left the relationship, I thought that that was the end of the problem. But what I didn't realize was I had already taken something with me. A child doesn't walk away from a broken home empty-handed. They leave carrying the whole thing with them, all of it. Because here's what I didn't understand back then. I wasn't processing what I went through. I was interpreting it. And my young mind locked on one thing. Not the anger, not the chaos, not even the fear that lived in my house. Money. I never learned how to identify what was wrong. I learned what to avoid. So I made a decision. I'm never going to be the man who can't provide. And that belief didn't just sit in my mind. It started shaping the young man I was then and the foundation of the man I would grow up to become. So, fast forward 23 years. I finally get to meet my biological father. And I want to be honest about what that felt like, because I think a lot of men in this situation know exactly what I'm about to say. When you've been dying of thirst your whole life, that first sip of water tastes like heaven, even if it's actually dirty water. My real father is charming. He's charismatic. He said all of the right things. He looked at me and said, had I fully known about you, your life would have been so much different. And I want you to understand what happened inside of me when he said those words. Because for my entire life, I had imagined that exact moment. I had dreamt about it, replayed it. What would he say? What would he even acknowledge what his absence had cost me? And here he was saying it without me even having to ask. When my father finally acknowledged what his absence had cost me, I finally felt like I wasn't crazy for missing a man I never even had. And there was hope, real hope. We were finally talking in real life. I had access finally to the man who had helped create me. Things had to get better now, right? Like they had to. But there was also this other part of me, quiet in the back of my mind, the part that had seen me through every hard season in my life up until that point. That part, very simply and quietly, whispered, wait, just wait. And over time, slowly, the full picture started to reveal itself. I got to know my siblings, brothers and sisters I had never known existed, and I started noticing something. Not one of my siblings stayed connected to our dad once they were old enough to where they no longer had to be. And then there were the phone calls. My dad would call and check on me, say things like, I just wanted to hear your voice, son. And I think, like, this is real. My dad's actually showing up for me. But then about 15 or 20 minutes into our phone conversation, he'd say, hey, how's your mom doing, by the way? Every time. The honorable reason was the cover story. The real reason always came later. Charisma can feel like presence, but they aren't the same thing. The man in my house had been absent through anger. My biological father had been absent through performance. Two completely different men, two completely different failures, and the same result. A son who never got the full picture of what a man was supposed to be. I thought I was building myself, but I was only building the parts of me that knew how to avoid what I had already seen. And this is what most men don't realize. You don't become who you're supposed to be. You become who you were shaped to be. Because as a kid, you don't have the wisdom to process life correctly. You don't have the language for it. You don't have the context. So you don't process things, you interpret. Whatever life meaning you built as a kid, you will still carry as a man until you decide to change it intentionally. So if you grew up in chaos, you don't learn peace, you learn survival. If nobody showed you how to lead, you don't magically figure it out, family. You repeat what you were shown until you finally see something different. And if the men in your life showed you performance instead of presence, you learn how to perform because that's what a man looked like to you. Most men don't become their fathers. They become the response to their fathers. And that's still not free. So most of us pick one thing and we master it. For a lot of men, it's money. Because money feels like control. Money feels like safety. Money feels like proof that you're nothing like them. Too many men build success in one area of their life, and then they mistake it for manhood. And the rest of the world rewards you for it. They call you solid, dependable. That guy's a provider, so you lean into it even harder. But what nobody tells you is this: you can be developed in one area and still be underdeveloped as a man. You can look complete from the outside while quietly feeling hollow on the inside. You can provide, but not know how to connect. You can handle business, but not know how to be present. You can perform the role of father without actually ever becoming one. This isn't failure, it's incomplete development. And incomplete development doesn't announce itself. It just quietly shapes everything that you build. Nobody ever sat you down and said, this is how you lead. This is how you handle pressure without breaking. This is how you stay when things get uncomfortable. Most men build an entire life without ever being shown how to build themselves. And now you're here, you're a father, and you're feeling like something is off, not because something is wrong with you, but because something inside of you was never developed. You don't feel lost, you feel incomplete. So I want you to think about what this looks like in real life. In your relationships, you don't always know how to stay. When things get uncomfortable, you pull away. You go quiet, you shut down, or you shift back to what feels safe. Work, money, control. You don't leave because you don't care. You leave because you don't know how to stay. So the people closest to you feel it, the distance, the inconsistency, the gap. They may not have words for it, but they feel like something is missing. You're present physically, but absent in the ways where it matters most. And then you become a father. Now everything you didn't learn shows up in front of your child. They're watching you, learning you, becoming you. Your child doesn't just hear what you say, they inherit how you live. And my siblings who scattered the moment that they didn't have to stay around our father, your children could grow up to be that story unless something changes. What a father never received as a child, unless he changes something, becomes the same deficits that his children will experience. You built a whole life without ever being first built as a man. Now listen, if you've been hearing yourself in this, none of this is to tear you down. It just lands heavy because most of us have never had a chance to learn this the right way from the beginning. We did what we could, we worked, we provided, we handled responsibilities, and in our minds, that meant we were doing it right. You built the best version of yourself with the incomplete picture that you were given. But here's what I know now that I didn't know when I was sitting across from my father thinking, things have to get better now. Presence isn't proximity. Charisma isn't connection, and showing up isn't the same as being there. The men who shaped us gave us pieces, not the whole thing, and you can't build a complete man from incomplete parts. But if it was built once, it can be rebuilt better. That feeling that you've been carrying, that something is off, that's not weakness, that's awareness. Awareness is where real change starts. Because now you can see it, and once you see it, you're responsible for it. The question changes. No longer is it, what's wrong with me? Now it's, what in me still needs to be built? And this doesn't happen overnight, not with motivation, not with one decision, but with intention, with consistency, with small changes that stack up over time. One conversation, one moment of presence, one time choosing to stay instead of pulling away. You don't become a better man all at once. You become a better man one decision at a time, brick by brick. That's how this works. You're not broken. You're just still becoming. So, let's bring all of this home and recap. I told you at the top of this episode, I'd show you 3 things. First, why do so many men feel lost? Because they've been trying to become something they were never actually shown how to become. A man feels lost when he's been surviving, but never truly formed. Second, where does this feeling come from? It comes from the men who shaped us, who were themselves incomplete. It comes from learning how to survive, but never being taught how to become. You don't feel off because you're broken. You feel off because parts of you were never built. And what does it mean to become whole? It means you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what in me still needs to be developed? Wholeness isn't perfection, it's development in motion. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Find a quiet moment and ask yourself honestly, what parts of me were never developed that I've been expecting myself to already have? Be honest, don't judge it, just identify it. Is it presence, emotional control, leadership, discipline, patience? Then take one step, just one. If it's presence, put your phone down tonight. If it's emotional control, pause before you react. If it's leadership, have that conversation that you've been avoiding. Not everything at once, just one brick. Being whole doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in decisions. And if you're serious about going deeper, I want you to read Wild at Heart by John Eldridge. That book is about the battle for man's identity from the very beginning. And it speaks to exactly what we talked about today. That most men were never called into who they were meant to be. That becoming the man you were designed to be requires more than ambition. It requires formation. When you read it, come back to this video and comment, I'm building now. And tell me one part that you're finally ready to develop. Don't just agree with what you heard today. Build from it. If this spoke to you, I want you to hear me for a second. I'm not coming to you as a perfect father. I'm coming to you as a man who had to figure out most of these lessons the hard way. I was that thirsty son. I was the one that sat across from his father and believed the first sip because I needed it to be water. And I thank God every day that I became aware of my unfinished parts in time, while my child was still young enough and still open enough to let me rebuild that connection. What kind of father would I have been if I knew then what I know now? That question stayed with me until I realized If I could share what I've learned with other fathers, it's my responsibility to share it now. So the father who's just starting doesn't have to learn everything the hard way. And the father who's been in this for years, but knows something still isn't right, can finally get the tools to fix it. Every single one of us is carrying something. Most men just don't feel safe enough yet to say what that is out loud. And that's why I built this. A place where fathers can be real. A place where we can talk openly. A place where you don't have to pretend. This is Where Daddiez Talk. And if this hits you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stay tapped in and send this to every man that you know. Not just the ones that you think need it. All of them. Because too many men are carrying weight, suffering in silence and telling themselves, I'm fine. But we're not doing that anymore. From hustle to home, this is Fatherhood Rebuilt. My name is Spence, and I am the Daddy's Coach. I love you, fellas. Keep building, keep showing up, keep growing, and I'll see you on the next episode. God bless.